So I guess to kind of tie this all up is to realize that you've been given a false image of God to worship. The Jesus that is described in the Gospels is nothing more than a rehash of all the other pagan solar deities that existed long before the story of Jesus is set in history. And I believe that this is one of the reasons why we find so many contradictions in the Bible, and particularly in the Gospels, is to awaken us to the fact that this is not literal history that we are reading. We are given a chance, if we can realize this, we are given a chance to see that this is merely a false image that the church has constructed for us. If you go back into the Council of Nicaea and do a little reading on that, you'll find that even though there are many paintings depicting it, everybody's sitting there, they look like they're all bishops with their big tall miters on, the miters of Dagon, the fish god, just like the Pope's mitre today is nothing but a fish's head. And there are all these paintings, they're all holy men, they're all sitting about with crosses on and everything. And then you realize that when you start reading, these were not just simply Christians that were invited to the Council of Nicaea, but all the presbyters, the people that were storytellers. These were people that went about telling stories on the street. These were people that some were snake charmers. Some of them were, in fact, Satan worshippers, exorcists, you name it. They were all invited there. If you forget that, that's how you get sucked into how this orthodoxy of the church came about and what the church stood for. This was a meeting brought about by the government. And at this government meeting, they decided who their God was going to be, and the basic doctrines that they were going to teach. And it was at that meeting, after it was finally resolved, that the New Testament was put together. We're told by the church, oh no, that's not true, that these were books that have been accepted by the church down through history and held in reference right from the very beginning. And it's simply not true. There are many books in the New Testament that were questioned as to whether they were authentic or not, whether they were the inspired Word of God or not, and realize that this was work that was done by these committees that were not composed entirely of Christians. That's why it's called the Roman Catholic Church. It meant the universal church. They tried to encompass the teachings of all the faiths and religions into one. All of the faiths and religions into one. So even if you were a worshiper of Satan, you were invited to that meeting. And there are parts of the New Testament that, whether you like it or not, glorify Satan. We're told that he is the prince and the power of the air, that he in fact is the God of this world. You know, I don't know how you can possibly miss these things, but it is my belief that a lot of these contradictions in the Gospels are there, that were written by whistleblowers to wake you up so that you won't get sucked in and realize that this is merely myth that is trying to portray a concept of the Christ to you, a concept that the Christ is in fact part of God. We are told in the Gospel of John that he is the only begotten Son. And the word only begotten means that he was generated directly out of God. That it's in itself should tell you that there was no virgin birth involved for the Christ. That he is in fact the Word of God. He is a spiritual being. That he is not a flesh and blood creature, as we are taught. And this is what Paul is trying to tell us, that people took this glorious God and they made him into an image like unto corruptible man. That's what they did in creating the Jesus figure. So if you love the truth is that Christ is the light that lights every man that comes into the world. He is that spark of light that is inside every single one of us. He is not a historical character that took upon the sins of the world on the cross. He is, in fact, a spirit of God that is inside every single one of us. And this thought is conveyed, whether you look into Genesis, where it says that the Elohim, that the gods, created male and female in their own image, or if you go back into the Enuma Elish of the Sumerians, of which Zechariah Sitchin has written so many books, telling us that these sky gods came down and that they mixed their DNA with a pre-existing man, and that out of that we have gotten the modern man. So whether you want to believe that it is just in a spiritual sense, or if you choose to believe that sky gods came here in a spaceship and mixed their DNA with some ape-like creature that they found in the jungle there, and made man so that he could serve them, so that he could mine the gold, as Zechariah Sitchin says that those scriptures say, or whether it's just the gods in the first chapter of Genesis and the second chapter who made this man so that he could till the ground. The same concept is there, simply telling us is that we are divine creatures, that we have part of the divine within us, and that is what the Christ is. It is that divine light that is inside every single one of us. But the church doesn't want you to know that. They want you to believe that the divinity was only in Jesus. And they want you to worship the image that they have concocted. And by doing that, you're basically surrendering your inheritance. You are a god. But they don't want you to know that. They don't want you to know that God is inside of you already. They want you to think that he was a figure in history. You see? The Christian faith is not based on truth.